There's nearly $600,000 in difference between Mount Pleasant and Summerville, Charleston's two most popular suburbs. And most people only think about price when it comes to these two areas. In the last 20 years, I've helped thousands of families decide between these two areas, but price isn't the only factor. There's a few crucial hidden factors that will change everything about your decision. By the end of this video, you're gonna know which of these two towns is best for you and your family. So the biggest reason you'd spend $600,000 more to live in Mount Pleasant is the location. Mount Pleasant is located just 5 minutes from downtown Charleston, and you're only 5 to 10 minutes to the beaches of Sullivan's Island and here at Isle of Palms. And if you want, you can catch some waves. We'll go do that. Another part that makes Mount Pleasant great are the schools. They're a huge reason people pay up to live in Mount Pleasant. Wando High School is in the top 1% of all South Carolina schools and sends kids to Ivy League universities every year. And Lucy Beckham High School has quickly built a similar reputation with consistent ratings and is among the best schools in the city. I've had clients who hated Mount Pleasant housing prices, but moved to Mount Pleasant anyway, and just for the schools. Think about it. Private schools run $15,000, maybe $25,000 per child per year. So the higher home prices might actually save you money if your kids get that good of school system support. Also, the lifestyle of Mount Pleasant is pretty much like living in a resort. Shem Creek is like a permanent vacation spot, and it's in your backyard. You also get waterfront restaurants where dolphins swim by while you eat, and there's wonderful shopping in Mount Pleasant. Old Village feels like a movie set with all those cute local shops, and you have the walkable streets. Plus, you've got boat options like Patriots Point Marina and tons of other water access points that make boating from Mount Pleasant very simple. Later in the video, we'll talk about hidden costs. You'll see exactly how these amenities affect your monthly budget beyond just the mortgage. The whole Mount Pleasant area just looks better with no ugly power lines. You have beautiful oak trees everywhere. The neighborhoods feel designed rather than just built. What if you just can't swing that Mount Pleasant price tag? Or maybe you're wondering, is it even worth it to spend this kind of money, $1 million on a house? Let's head over to Summerville, and we're gonna see a place where your money goes a lot further. But if this is your first time, my name's Matt O'Neill. I've been helping families find their dream homes here in Charleston for over 20 years. My team and I have now helped over 5,000 families navigate the tricky move to Charleston, South Carolina. If you find this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because every week I share insider information about the local real estate market you're not going to find anywhere else. From neighborhood tours to pricing trends and even hidden gems that make most outsiders discover what the insiders already know about Charleston. All right, now let's check out Summerville. This is where your dollar stretches way farther. It isn't just about saving money, it's about understanding what you're giving up and gaining with all of your savings. Summerville's prices make Mount Pleasant buyers do a double take. I mean, median price is only $355,000 in Summerville. That's a $600,000 savings over Mount Pleasant. And you're only paying about $186 a square foot, less than half of what Mount Pleasant costs. This means you get twice the house for the same money, or the same house for half the price. Even the fancy homes in Summerville's best neighborhoods, like Nexton, rarely even touch $800,000. That's a price that barely gets you a starter home in most places in Mount Pleasant. Distance is the main reason for the lower prices. Summerville sits about 25 to 30 miles northwest of Charleston, which doesn't sound bad until you understand the traffic on I-26. On a good day with light traffic, you're looking at a 40 to 50 minute drive to downtown Charleston. But in rush hour, now we're talking 90 minutes of stop and go that will test your patience. And if there's an accident, forget about it. I have people I work with and clients that will get stuck for over 2 hours on I-26 trying to get from Summerville to downtown Charleston. The other thing is the land is totally different in Summerville. And when I say that, I mean there's more of it to build on. Peninsula Charleston or Mount Pleasant is kind of confined and built out. Summerville still has lots of room to grow in all directions. This makes master plan communities like Nexton and Cane Bay still able to add thousands of new homes. And all this new construction, it keeps a lid on prices. Why would you pay top dollar for a used home when you could get a brand new one for about the same price? And that's night and day compared to Mount Pleasant. This is where land is limited and the city has created scarcity because they don't want more density in the town. They actually put a halt on building. Now, despite having lower prices, Summerville might actually surprise you with how good the amenities are. The newer neighborhoods don't skimp on the good stuff. The pools look like they belong in resorts, not subdivisions. Nexton is pretty impressive, with over 10 miles of trails connecting everything, as modern community spaces and growing retail areas. Downtown Summerville has authentic charm, and you just can't manufacture that. You have older homes, huge live oak trees, and local shops that have really been there forever. Also, the Flower Town Festival is a big deal, with over 200,000 people showing up, making it one of the Southeast's biggest art festivals. The schools in Summerville are really solid. Both Summerville High and Ashley Ridge post really good test score numbers. They rank in the top 5% in the state for test scores, which is not quite Wando numbers, but it's still very, very good. And you're getting these really good schools without that Mount Pleasant premium pricing. For families who care about education, but also need affordable housing, Summerville hits that sweet spot. So we've covered the numbers and the main differences, but what about daily life? Let's talk about what your lifestyle will actually look like depending on which of these two communities you choose. Beyond just the house prices and square footage, Summerville and Mount Pleasant offer completely different daily living experiences. The commute pretty much shapes everything from your routine. For Mount Pleasant, you're downtown in 10 to 15 minutes. Residents actually bike to work faster than driving in some cases. From Summerville, I-26 can be an absolute torture. It's consistently ranked among the worst traffic corridors in the state of South Carolina. This isn't just about being annoyed in traffic, but literally hours of your life every week. Do the math. A 2-hour daily commute, that equals 10 hours a week. That's 520 hours a year, almost 22 full days of your life spent in the car looking at the windshield. The other thing is beach access. That's kind of a game changer. We talked about this earlier. Mount Pleasant, they decided on a whim to go catch a sunset at Sullivan's Island, which is only 5 or 10 minutes away. But from Summerville, the beach is maybe 45 to 60 minutes. And that's a big commitment because it's a 2-hour round trip to go to the beach. For surfers or paddleboarders or families with beach-loving kids or pets, this alone can justify the price tag of $600,000 more to live in Summerville. But be honest with yourself. How often will you actually go to the beach? If it's every week or every other week, Mount Pleasant's convenience is probably worth its weight in gold. But if it's maybe once a month or every other month, it's probably not worth it. The whole vibe and demographics between these two areas are also very different. Mount Pleasant runs a little bit older in age, median age is 43 years old, and these people typically have higher incomes. Summerville skews younger. 38 years is median age, and a lot of first-time homebuyers and families that are just starting out. This creates completely different atmospheres. Mount Pleasant has a more established and upscale feel. Summerville has younger energy with more backyard barbecues and kids playing at cul-de-sacs and community events for family. Shopping and restaurants reflect the price differences. Mount Pleasant has upscale spots like Tavern and Table and Coastal Crust and boutique shopping and kind of fancy national chains. Summerville offers more affordable, family-friendly places, though there are some really cool local spots like Accent on Wine and Hall's Chop House. Mount Pleasant's town center and Shim Creek feel like vacation destinations, not just suburban shopping. Summerville's retail scene has improved a lot, especially around Nexton, but it still has a more modest local feel. Weekend activities also look completely different. Mount Pleasant weekends revolve around the water, boating, beaches, paddleboarding, strolling downtown. Summerville folks tend to stick around the land. It might be taking your dog on a walk on the trails, or going to the parks, or the golf course, or community festivals. And that might be the biggest factor in your decision. Are you a water person or are you a land person? When we compare what you actually get for your money later, you'll see exactly how these lifestyle differences show up in the homes and the properties in each area. I've seen people buy beautiful homes in areas that don't match up with their lifestyle, and they end up miserable, no matter how nice the actual inside of the house is. Now let's talk about some of the hidden costs and benefits that most buyers completely miss when they compare Summerville to Mount Pleasant. Some sneaky financial factors change the true cost difference between both of these two suburbs. These hidden expenses can make that $600,000 gap even bigger or smaller depending on your situation. First up is property taxes. They can vary more than most homebuyers realize. Charleston County, which is Mount Pleasant, taxes you about 1.27%, which isn't cheap for South Carolina. Dorchester County, which is where Summerville is, only hits about 0.84%, which saves you thousands of dollars every year. And if you're in Berkeley County, which is also a small part of Summerville, you'll hit the jackpot because it has South Carolina's lowest county tax rate. So let's run the numbers. On a median Mount Pleasant home, you might pay $12,000 in annual property taxes, while a similar size home in Summerville might only come in at $3,000 to $4,000 a year. Another factor is insurance costs. And Mount Pleasant, you're going to see higher insurance costs because you're near the coast, which means you have higher windstorm premiums, sometimes 2 to 3 times higher than what you would pay inland in Summerville. Many Mount Pleasant homes need separate flood insurance. That can add an additional $1,000 to up to $10,000 a year. Most Summerville homes don't require flood insurance at all because they're in an X zone. The difference in this is going to, again, be thousands of dollars annually based on Mount Pleasant or Summerville. It's basically like another car payment every single month just because you live closer to the water. Transportation costs can also add up fast. For Summerville, your commute is going to burn through gas. So you have to figure an extra 40 to 50 miles a day, or roughly $2,500 to $3,000 more in fuel costs every year. And your car is going to wear out faster too. That's tires, oil changes, major repairs. They're going to come more frequently when you're putting on 20,000 miles and commuting every single year. Some Mount Pleasant areas like Old Village let you walk to stuff, and this cuts down on your driving. Most of Mount Pleasant has embraced the golf cart lifestyle or trips within the community. But I will say this. Nexton has also embraced this golf cart lifestyle. Resale of your home has flexibility and it varies dramatically. Mount Pleasant homes don't just sit on the market for long, even in slower markets. Well, Summerville properties can take twice as long to sell during market dips. And that's because of all the new construction you compete with. Mount Pleasant has an established reputation that provides protection against neighborhood home price decline. But Summerville's newer construction means lower maintenance for years. So you don't have surprises like old roofs that need replacing or HVAC systems that are failing. All right, now let's get personal. Which area might be right for you and your specific situation based on your lifestyle and needs? I've helped hundreds of families make this exact decision between Summerville and Mount Pleasant, and I've noticed clear patterns and who loves each area. Let's match your lifestyle to the right neighborhood. Are you a boater or a surfer or a paddleboarder? The convenience of Mount Pleasant will change your life when you get close to the water, and you might have to sacrifice and get a little bit smaller home to have that lifestyle. Now, the weekend beach trips from Summerville are going to eat up 2 hours of driving alone, and that will kill your spontaneity, and you won't go as often. So be brutally honest with your actual habits. I've seen families pay that premium price for beach access and live in Mount Pleasant, and then they might use it only 3 times a year. So is it worth it? Probably not in that situation. For families with kids, school considerations might tip the scales too. If the top schools are your absolute #1 priority and you're committed to public education, Mount Pleasant is going to win. But I've also had families choose Summerville over other areas because the schools are so good and almost at that exact same level as Mount Pleasant. But here's an interesting twist. If you want to send your children to private school, the additional cost of living in Mount Pleasant and the savings that you would get to live in Summerville might actually cover private school tuition for your kids. Now, as a caveat and disclaimer, always check specific school zones, not just your district reputation. Quality varies within both areas, and the boundaries do change. All right, now let's talk about future commute patterns. Charleston is going to continue to grow, and traffic's probably not going to get better. Probably going to get worse. For retirees and empty nesters, think about long-term accessibility. Mount Pleasant puts you closer to Charleston's great healthcare and cultural activities and amenities. Summerville gives you more affordable options to downsize without sacrificing quality in your lifestyle. Summerville also has great healthcare options, and downtown Summerville is super walkable with really nice shops and really good dining options as well. So if you love to walk, there's going to be nature trails in both areas. Also, probably the most important thing in life is your family. So if your family lives in Summerville, probably is worth it to live there close to them because 30 minutes closer could be the difference between seeing your family on a weekly basis or not seeing them at all for months. For investors and resale-focused buyers, the calculus changes. Mount Pleasant historically holds value better in down markets with properties that don't tank. Summerville rentals often cash flow immediately with cap rates 2 to 3 points higher than Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant's limited supply of houses creates natural protection against major price drops. Just remember that new developments in Summerville will compete directly with your resale home. Okay, now let's get super specific about what your money actually buys you in each area. We're going to look at real examples that might help clarify your decision for you. Let's look at what your money really buys in each area right now. These are actual examples from current listings so you can visualize a difference. In Mount Pleasant, at a median price of $950,000, here's what you get. You're looking at a 2,500 square foot home, probably built in the early 2000s. Decent, but definitely not brand new. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms on a quarter-acre lot. It's enough space for most families, but it's not sprawling. Expect some updated features like granite counters and stainless steel appliances, but probably not like all updated new bathrooms. You're going to be in a solid neighborhood with great schools, but it's not like a premium spot like Old Village or Ion. Basically, it's going to be a nice family home that meets your needs and doesn't really wow your friends when they visit, but it's going to be nice. Now in Summerville, for that same $950,000, you're looking at a massive 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home built within the last decade with an open concept and all the modern bells and whistles. Maybe 5 or 6 bedrooms, 3 to 4, or maybe even 5 bathrooms, a bonus room, a dedicated office, and a half-acre or bigger lot. You're gonna have high-end finishes everywhere. Hardwood floors, quartz counters, custom cabinets, walk-in closets, bigger than some bedrooms that you typically see. Often this is gonna include extra like a pool or an outdoor kitchen or a theater or a smart home tech in your house. You're going to be in one of the best Summerville neighborhoods like Nexton or a historic property downtown. Now, what about Summerville at their median price of $350,000? There in Summerville, you're going to get a newer 1,800 to 2,000 square foot home built within the last decade. It's going to be clean, efficient, low maintenance. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, not huge, but plenty of function for smaller families. It's going to be modern with modern builder grade finishes, maybe vinyl plank flooring, solid surface counters, stainless steel appliances. You probably have a community amenity like a pool or a playground, and they're gonna make up for the smaller lot. Basically, it will be a solid, newer home with no major repairs on the horizon for years. The space difference is massive. You're getting 60 to 80% more house in Summerville for the same money. And lots in Summerville at comparable prices can be 2 to 3 times bigger than that of Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant yards are often tiny, but the location makes up for it. So be real whether you'll use that extra space, because I've seen people buy huge homes only to live in just 3 rooms. The age and condition is a major factor too. In Mount Pleasant, your budget often means buying older homes that are going to need some updates. That same money in Summerville can get you brand new construction with warranties. Mount Pleasant's premium is for the location, not the huge house. So don't forget that renovating costs and updating a kitchen or a bath can sometimes cost you tens of thousands of dollars, if not $100,000 or more. So in conclusion, that $600,000 gap between Mount Pleasant and Summerville, it's not about which neighborhood is better, but which one is going to match your life the most. Both markets are moving fast right now. Mount Pleasant's inventory is at really a low, and Summerville's new home construction prices do climb every single month as the builders run out of lots. So if you're serious about making a move to either Summerville or Mount Pleasant, let's talk some strategy. I've got insider access to off-market properties in both of these suburbs that never even hit the MLS. So just shoot me an email at sales@mattoneilteam.com and let's find you the right home before prices jump up later this spring. Now, speaking of what's driving these prices, you're gonna need to see what's coming to Charleston in 2026. Click here to see everything that's new and is gonna transform Charleston's real estate landscape in the years to come. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next video.